This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to PTBN's NBA Team Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Andrew Reich. I'm joined by Adam Murray. Adam, we had a couple of big events that sort of came by with the lottery and the second round of the playoffs, which has had a few twists and turns for sure. Some catastrophic. Some might say two that were catastrophic on Monday night, if you want to include the draft lottery results.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Time to fire up the last minute emergency pod again. Because
yeah, I think Monday night's occurrences definitely bring it's criteria for an emergency pod for sure. It's the Jason Tatum injury with the torn Achilles, or what looks to be a torn Achilles, and the Mavericks miraculously, suspiciously, conspiratorially winning the NBA draft lottery to get Cooper Flagg when they had no other picks and they had less than 2% chance of winning the lottery.
Now haven't I been saying it the whole time?
You did say that Dallas
you're going to join
that Dallas winning the lottery would be the juiciest narrative. That's what you said.
You're gonna join me in tinfoil hat town where.
Well, let me say this about draft lotteries. I don't think they're all fixed. This one may have been.
Oh, most of them not, because who cares? But this one
was not. This one was kind of rigged, kind of. Like there had to be some sort of machination there of like, let's try to make it easier for Dallas to get this pick.
Kind of rigged. First, Dallas gets it. San Antonio loses Popovich, so let's give them the number 2 pick. And then Philly, who dealt with catastrophic injuries,
they jump into the top 3.
Yeah, and then every team that was tanking and trying to get it all mysteriously lost. That's
unbelievably, of the 4 most likely percentage odds wides to get the number 1 pick, none of them were even in the top 4, which is incredible. It almost discourages tanking at this point.
It really does, and that's I was going to ask you winners and losers of this, and losers would be
tanking teams.
The odds of 3 teams like that to move up, and then everyone else move down. That's just
And let's be clear, like just because. So, for example, the Wizards got, I believe, the number 6 pick. They were the second most likely to win the lottery. That's on the surface in terms of the position in the draft. That's catastrophic. But great players can be chosen at that number. We're not saying it's complete.
Oh,
of course.
Loss. You had Giannis, who I believe was the 15th pick. Jokic was a second-round pick. Jimmy Butler.
I think Lillard specifically was number 8 in 2012. I think he was. He was down there.
I want to say like 6th, maybe. Any players can be found. Paul Pierce fell to 10th. Garnett was 5th, but his high school. But just the odds of Dallas getting 1, and then the 3 teams who were trying so hard, Charlotte, Utah, and Washington, all got Detroit Pistons. That is okay.
When you say Detroit Pistons, you mean having the highest odds and still getting the 5th.
Yeah, getting the 5th pick like 2 years in a row. It's just like, come on, what does anybody have to do? Another big loser I would take from this would be, why are there more good players going to the Western teams? The East gets worse and worse.
The Nets, I think, were a loser because they have 4 draft picks and none of them are above 8. They'd have to trade their way up if they really want a certain player. All the talk is about Flagg. We already discussed him in our last episode at the tail end of it about what kind of impact we think he might have. And the truth is, for Flagg, is he a generational talent? I'm not sure. Is he a guy that can immediately improve your team in year 1? I would say yes. And he also can be a fixture at the 3 and the 4, whichever way you want to play him for a decade, barring any injuries or laziness or legal issues or whatnot. I mean, I see a guy, Adam, that will probably be like an 18-9 player, and that's really, really good at the minimum. And that's a really good team. That's a really good player.
Like, look back on the number 1 picks in previous years. You have, Wembanyama, clear-cut number 1.
Yeah, generational talent.
Cunningham, he was good, but he was cut number one, but it wasn't like, oh, he's better than the rest. Like you have to go back to like Zion in 2019 to be like, this guy is a clear cut number one. He could be potentially a difference maker.
It's funny because Zion was actually in the lottery room representing the Pelicans, which is kind of funny.
So that basically says, it gives me strong vibes that he is going to stay on this team. They're not going to trade him away because you don't do that. You don't put him out there for the lottery.
You don't bring a guy out. I mean, let's put our tinfoils hat on for a second about the lottery and how it took place. First of all, I believe Silver was there because he did an interview where this is not shocking. We can talk about it on the back half of this episode, but he basically said, I enjoy the physicality of the playoffs, and it wasn't by accident. And he gave a lot of credit to the competition head of the league, which was, I believe, Joe Dumars, and said that they basically told the refs, hey, lighten up on the whistles, let them play, let them get physical. And I guess he enjoys it more because it creates more competitiveness. Remember, too, Adam, like, not you, Adam, the other Adam Silver got tarred and feathered for an uncompetitive all-star game yet again. So he basically said, all right, gloves are off. We're going to have fist fights back in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so that was one thing. So long story short, Silver was there. Silver was in the theater. The
he always is. And he's
Daryl Morey finds out he gets number 3. He buries his head in the table. When I saw the owner's daughter representing the Jazz, Ashley Smith, I was like, uh-oh, I think they won it. But no, they didn't, So, yeah, if you're one of these tanking teams, you feel really, really unlucky at this point.
As you saw at Detroit, their rebuild took so much longer because of this. And Utah, yet again, because we mentioned in our post-mortem, they're gone fishings, the capture the flag, which was none of them. But they have nobody who was really a cornerstone piece because Markkanen is just going to get traded soon. You have Washington, who has no cornerstone piece. And it doesn't, if you're just going to give LA a super all-star, you're going to give Dallas and San Antonio the 2 best guys, because those are the clear-cut being Cooper Flagg. And
Cooper Flagg doesn't even have to change his team colors. It's just blue and silver now instead of blue and white because he went to Duke. I would also say that getting Dylan Harper is a solid concession prize. I do think he'll go number 2.
Oh, I was just going to say
and Ace Bailey will likely go number 3 to Philadelphia. Now, things can change. Injuries happen. Workouts and interviews might blow, it might not go the way you want it to go, and your stock goes down. So, Charlotte, VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, is he going to go to the number 5 team, which I think is – which one is number 5? Is that Utah? Things like that could happen. But I think the reason why there's so much attention and even casual interest about it is, number one, Flagg was we have to get the number 1 pick if we want to save our franchise type of pick. And the fact that a team that traded away their superstar to the Lakers and got very little in return basically was thrown a lifeline. A team that never jumped in the lottery in their history. And they've been around for over 40 years since the lottery started, and they never jumped into the lottery out of their position. And it just so happened they got the number 1 pick.
And also, like you said, with Dylan Harper, he doesn't fit currently on this Spurs roster. With De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle, Darren Vassell, he's not, of course you take him and then you figure out these pieces.
Figure it out later. Maybe a trade can happen, right?
Yeah, you trade one of those other pieces away, as we had.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's been talked about a lot for the last week, is that Giannis is open to trades. It doesn't mean that the Bucks are going to shop him. What it means is that the Bucks are going to take calls.
I think you have to trade him this year because next year is an automatic lost year. With Lillard's money just sitting on you and no replacement, he can't will that team to anything. So you're now looking 2 years down the line, and if Lillard can come back.
Yes.
And
will he even be in the shape to be able to carry them at the guard spot?
Yeah, will he be the player he was? And you need to replace everything you're going to lose, because even if Brook Lopez does come back for one more year, he's not playing 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is a year you have to. Brooklyn had one. I think if Houston had one, if a couple other teams had won.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't even know how they got that pick, but Houston is number 10. So they're going to get another good player that they probably can't fit into their rotation. Like, they're not going to be able to fit them in the rotation. They're not. They're probably going to trade out of it.
Most likely they will, and or who knows what they'll do. Maybe they'll use that pick and trade up. And Houston is the big X factor, which we will go over next week in their post-mortem gone fishings. Mm-hmm. But I think.
Were you surprised that it happened, that Dallas won the lottery? I understand what you were saying about your prediction, and you're right. But were you genuinely surprised when it happened?
Disappointed would be the word.
Why? But who are you disappointed in? A ping pong ball? Like, what do you mean by disappointed?
Because odds are is that one ping pong ball did hit, and this is the reason they had the lottery.
So the way it goes is that there's, I believe, 5 numbers, and I guess the last one is like a Powerball. And the story is the combination. If the last number, which was 1, if it was different, then it would have gone to Portland. The other one that's unbelievably unlucky for the Bulls is that them and Dallas had the same spot, and it went to a coin flip as a tiebreaker. Dallas got the position at 11, and that's where they jumped at. So it's like, wow, what, like, them's the breaks, I guess you can call it. But listen, I'm from New Orleans. This happened for us twice. We we lost Chris Paul. They immediately give us Anthony Davis, because we also rescued the team by Tom Benson buying them. We lose Anthony Davis because he wants out. We win Zion Williamson. Chicago had a equal percent chance of winning their lottery in 2008. They win it, and they get their hometown hero, Derrick Rose. So they're at Cleveland with LeBron James. There's just too many coincidences, Adam. You start to wonder to yourself. I understand they're saying, "Oh, this is associated with a Procter and Gamble." They wouldn't. That's fraud. They wouldn't risk their reputation on that. And I would say to myself, they wouldn't risk their reputation if they knew certain information behind the scenes would never get out.
No, they wouldn't. And the reason I say that is, again, because all you're going to talk about is the complete uncompetitive balance between, like, the talk's going to come up now. You have to have 16 seeds regardless of conference, because it's just going to be so tough out west. And the East is, you got Chicago, who's going to be jumping down next year, and Milwaukee, who will be falling down next year. It's just going to be so ugly, lopsided. Like I said, that's why I was disappointed. I had texted like everyone and who do you want? I'm like, anyone but a West team. I can't see more people out west.
Especially it is a loaded conference for sure.
And especially if Giannis goes to like Houston or something, and you get another superstar who gets moved out west. It's just, come on, we can't keep having this.
And you kind of got that feeling on social media, aka Twitter, a lot, that it wasn't like it was, when the Pelicans won Zion, it felt celebratory definitely for us as New Orleans fans, but in general, I think people were kind of glad for it. For the Spurs, it was sort of like an eye roll of like, oh God, here we go again. The Spurs get another generational big man. This one was just met with disdain, where it was just like, really? Mavericks of all teams got a break?
And even like the few Mavericks fans I know, and you read, they're just like, even they know, they're like, yeah, we get it. It's
we got away with one. Did it feel like a heist? Did it feel like a great train robbery to you?
It felt like one of those, the government does something shady, and it's just like, yeah, we know they're screwing everybody. Nobody's happy about it. Dallas fans they're not even like, I don't want to say super ecstatic, because I bet you some are, but everyone's just like, we could have had Luka still. Like, there was no need to have all this. This was completely unnecessary. But that's where we are, and this is what we got.
It's a big break. Now we can move on to what it does for Dallas. Enormous break. You can help develop Coop. If you have a healthy AD, you can try it. It's going to be baby steps. They're not going to immediately be good, because I don't think Kyrie Irving's going to be ready to start the season. He'll probably be ready midway through. But they can start from there. They're going to have cap room. They got too many bigs, so they're going to have to move someone between Washington and Derek Lively for sure. I don't think they care at this point. They're just glad they got that pick. I mean, do you feel like if you were 2 or 3 that, meaning Philadelphia and San Antonio, that do you feel like, oh well, we got something good here too,
Well,
or
that's
there's
why
really
San
nothing to
Antonio is
celebrate?
just happy because although he doesn't fit their current team, yeah, he's a big chip, and you bring him in, and then let's think back to Oklahoma City, who had Westbrook and then Durant, and then well, we got Harden. It's just like, well, Harden doesn't fit, and
I would argue it's an enormous sigh of relief for Philadelphia because if it went below 6, they had to give the pick to Oklahoma City. So I think that's a huge sigh of relief for them, to be honest with you.
of course it is, considering they have no.
I would think they're going to take either Bailey, whoever's best available between Bailey, Harper, and probably Edgecombe. Like, you're not going to be able to get Cooper. Do you think? Give me some teams that you do think could try to do Godfather offers to try to get down. Nico Harrison got a lifeline here. He's not dumb enough to trade the pick. I don't expect it. But do you think teams will call, and who would?
No, I don't think that pick is. Of course, Utah will call.
Hmm.
Danny calls everybody. Of course, probably Toronto will call, and
Milwaukee might call.
Milwaukee might. Well, Milwaukee probably won't call because everyone's going to be calling Milwaukee.
Hmm.
They'll wait for Dallas
So
to
they'll
call.
try to lump it into a bigger deal. Yes.
That's what most of the Dallas doesn't have as much of to offer, even with the number one pick. You
Right.
don't have many attractive pieces besides that number one pick. Like, yeah, Lively, the number one, Jaden
it, it
Hardy, and
it got people talking, and I think that's all Dave. That's all Adam Silver wants.
it's
He just
talking,
wants
but
people
it's
talking.
like all-star break bad talking. So the team that had 1%, the team that had, everybody completely against this trade and was like, why didn't you veto this? You gave him the pick. Well, it
Right.
happened. Yeah, okay. There's a 2% chance that happened. Yeah, it could hit, but it's so your timing is so bad,
Hmm.
and just show the stupid board. Like, why does it have to be secret? In this day and age of technology, you can have ESPN create the graphic.
That I think would actually fix a lot of issues in terms of integrity. If you actually showed the lottery itself, I would have to assume they might actually start doing that.
They have
Now,
to.
it might be hard for television because that's not compelling television. But and that's what they're in the game for. But the thing is, if you show it, there is no debate. This is how it went down.
It's not compelling television. Have you seen the second round of the draft where they're calling it from the ESPN studios and Stephen A. Smith is just rambling on about something he has no clue about?
It's all about entertainment. They do it all for the ratings. The funny thing about the ratings is that they are getting record viewership on cable. The reason, but they miss one important point. Every sports telecast is getting bigger ratings because this is the first year that Nielsen included out of home viewing. So of course all the ratings are up. But yeah, things seem happy. And NBC and Amazon Prime, they're doing all of their hires. The biggest one was Michael Jordan, basically getting sort of this Bob Costas role
I don't know
with
what he'd
NBC.
provide. That just seems like a waste
Well,
of
I don't think
money.
he's going to provide much. I think he's literally just going to be from his house, and they're going to film him a couple times. And we've seen all. I mean, Brady did more than that for Fox, but I can see I can see Jordan just bantering with people and creating memes. Because people are obsessed with Mike. He's the GOAT. So people want to talk to him. People want to ask him if they think this guy's better than him, or what do you think of this guy? What's your parlay today? Like that's what it's going to be about, and it brings eyeballs to the new NBC package, which is what they want. Amazon's getting ready for their cast of characters. Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki and Cassidy Hubbard is leaving ESPN. So that's been kind of bandying about, but that's next year. We're in the playoffs this year. The second round is we can do the postmortems on that when we preview the conference finals for sure, Adam. But this one has been a bit of a doozy.
Oh, let's just preview them now. Boston, what can you do? You blow so many leads. You're out coached. Tatum goes out potentially for the
You know
next
what I
year.
think gave it away for Joe Mazzulla, to be honest? It's in the first game when they were up comfortably. They blew 20-point leads in games 1 and 2. But early in that first game, they put a Tom Thibodeau throws down his ace card when they started to go spiral downward, and he put in Mitchell Robinson, which is the same thing that Emi Udoka did with Steven Adams, where it's like, okay, I'm going to put two bigs on the court to try to snag all the rebounds when your team just runs out of leg and starts bricking threes. Well, Missoula gave himself away that he didn't want that lineup out there because he started to hack Robinson because he's a poor free throw shooter. But the problem is you just gave yourself away. Now the opposing coach knows what lineup works best, and Thibodeau's run with that lineup to success.
Tatum will be out, and if it's an Achilles, he's out all of next year.
That was brutal. It looked very much like the Kevin Durant one in 2019, where he was trying to. So he passed it to Jaylen Brown. I know people are going to blame Jaylen Brown locally. Shit happens. The ball gets loose. When the ball squirts out of Brown's hands when he tries to cut, Tatum was trying to start himself to dive, and he was kind of out of position. And when he pivoted to make the dive, I think the Achilles popped. And it was very similar to what happened with Kevin Durant when he lost the ball and he tried to pivot to dive for it, and he was in a funky position. He put no weight on it. He literally started spinning around like a wheel, like a broken wheel. It was sad.
And that's what
really
happens
sad.
when you're just coils up your legs. So
Right. He's literally like I mean, everybody's going through injuries, obviously. Adam, I mean, you saw Carl Towns. He tells his coach what happened. He says, "I broke it," meaning either his hand or his finger. I think he broke his finger, to be honest. If he broke his hand, he wouldn't even be playing right now. But people are going through injuries. I think Jokic is out of gas in the Denver Oklahoma series, trying to play at both ends at the highest
most
level he
likely
possibly
you
can.
have Curry out with his hamstring, and
Yeah, that was very early in the Wolves series. What's the word? He just clammed up. He just like, oh man, I gotta go. I gotta
and
go.
then you can't rush back from that. So
Hey,
it's
I mean, I have an injury. I pulled my back. I twisted too hard carrying a box, and I was like, all right, coach, I'm out. I'm out. Sub me.
and that's why we're here emergency.
Injuries happen. Injuries happen. Okay,
It
and you
is,
do
but
have to
that
overcome
it
them.
just puts a dour on the.
Well, and the Achilles injury, obviously, everyone knows the drill now because we've seen it multiple times with Klay Thompson, and Lillard. Now, I'm sure there's another one that happened, maybe Kobe Bryant, where you are out for probably an entire year at the best 9 months. So the likelihood for Jason Tatum is that he probably will not play a single game next year.
Yep, and
I'm
then
being honest.
with a $200 million tax bill coming, that you gotta ship out
You got to
Porzingis.
see what's going on. You're going to have to try to get. I don't think they have enough unloading ability to get under the tax entirely because they're
No, but
like
they
I
have to get
think
under the
they're
double tax.
$80 million over the tax line, the second apron. So they're not going to be able to do that. They will pay tax, repeat pay taxpayer money. They're just going to lighten the load, which is going to make the team worse. They got to unload Holiday. They probably have to unload Porzingis, and if they can't unload Porzingis, they might have to trade Derek White to get draft picks back. And it sucks. It sucks. The one guy you can't move is Brown. And I'm going to be honest, Adam, and I mean this, and I really like Jaylen Brown, and he was a Finals MVP last year, and he earned it. Nobody wants that contract. Nobody wants Jaylen Brown's contract, supermax contract.
People will take it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to get to that point anyway. Like where Jaylen Brown might actually get traded. He's already been in trade rumors before because I think some teams are trying to get Durant, and some people were discussing Jaylen Brown in that deal. But I don't think so. But you think people would take his veteran supermax?
People would. Teams that have nobody, they would take them. It's just we mention all the time, windows close faster than you think, and
And this is one.
this one just appears to be slammed
I
shut.
think they can actually come back and win one. I do. I think they can remake it around Tatum,
I I
a healed up Tatum,
it'll
Brown,
be a couple
and some other
years.
people.
Who
But I
knows?
think similar to Curry and Clay in 22, I think they could do it one more time. But it might be a lost year in 2026 for the Celtics. That's kind of the biggest fear. I mean the immediate fear, the clear and present fear is that you're going to probably lose this series. But no, like yeah, we have teams down 3-1. That's a tough that's a tough thing to come back from. It's been done 13 times out of, oh my god, what, like
I mean, it's been done.
400 second round series in history, you know?
We've always mentioned it's been done. Well, it's 87,000 times it's happened. Well, the first time it just happened now, and 16 seed finally be the 1 seed in NCAA. Anything's possible. It's just really hard when your team is demoralized, and
It's tough. For Curry, I think Curry's done. I don't think Curry's coming back. He also played in the Olympics, Adam. Like there is a certain point where I always, my theory on it, like, why are these injuries happening? Are they freak injuries? Some of them are, yes. I do think one part of it is there's just more possessions per game than ever before, and when you have more possessions, you're more likely to get injured, and I think that's a big reason why it's happening to a lot of players, particularly star players.
just disappointing. That's all
Yeah.
we can say. But
The West is going along. Also, the story is, other than the injuries kind of hampering some of the competitiveness of these series, is that the two big lineup, I discussed a little bit about the Knicks Celtics series. The two big lineup works. It's super effective. It always has been since the dawn of a basketball. And then the other thing is, if you can play defense and get back quickly enough, you can win games. Look at Indiana, look at Oklahoma City, look at even Denver. If you in Minnesota, if you play defense, you're going to go. You have a better likelihood of winning these series.
defense wins championships, and
They do.
also the number 1 draft pick. So, all right, for Andrew Reich, I'm Adam Murray. Have a good one.
Take care.